My best friend tried to kill me because he has feelings for my girlfriend of 5 years. So me, a 27-year-old man, and Jake, a 26-year-old man, have been best friends since we were 16 years old. We bonded over both wanting the same career path. After years of struggling and tons of rejection, my career has finally been taking off for the past year, while Jake's has not. I've spent so much time trying to help him this past year, trying to encourage and support him. We even lived together as roommates from ages 20 to 23 and shared everything. But about 6 months ago, his attitude towards me changed. He started making me the butt of his jokes, saying belittling and demeaning things. I was kind of a happy-go-lucky type of guy, and I just brushed it off, thinking he was just a little jealous and having a hard time. I was understanding of his situation. I get it, VDJ, it's a harsh environment to want to work in, with tons of rejections, and seeing your friends suddenly get the success you have always dreamt of. Then there's my ex-girlfriend Alice, a 26-year-old woman. I thought we had the perfect relationship together for 5.5 years. DJ, good communication, good sex life. She stood by me all these rough years, trying to get ahead in this career path. I'm also a big oversharer and love to talk to her about everything. We had no secrets and were very honest, or so I thought. I always made an effort to keep the relationship fresh and fun date nights once or twice a week. Surprise her with gifts, trips, trying to do new things together like cooking classes and dance classes. I just loved sharing experiences with her. I indulged in her hobbies and made sure she knew she was my #1 person. I thought I felt the same from her. Even as my career took off, I made sure not to prioritize her any less or any of my friends. I need a good work-life balance to feel happy. Last week, we were all at our friend's house, Tom and Katie, both 27, a house they recently bought. We were sitting in their yard drinking along with Bill, a 26-year-old man, and Jane, a 27-year-old woman. We have been a friend group for 7 years, so we were all drinking and Jake gets drunk pretty quickly. All night, he is taking these jabs at me and saying things. After 6 months of this, I just had enough and called him out, which ended in an argument. I ended up saying I thought this all stemmed from his jealousy of my recent success, that it's not my fault he doesn't have the talent to make it, and I mentioned all I've tried doing for him, so he could get opportunities as well. Then he just attacks me. We shove each other a bit, but he manages to knock me down, kicks me in the ribs a couple of times, then he tries to stomp on my head. Luckily, he doesn't hit me full force. I feel the sole of his foot hit my cheek and slip off, but it was hard enough that my face is still swollen. Then he does it again, but I move and just see his foot land full force, inches from my face. He could have broken my skull or worse, killed me, had he landed on my head. Then the other guys get in between. I stand up and yell if he is crazy. He seems to be walking off, but he picks up a wooden plank. Tom and Katie are redoing the fence and building a shed in the garden. Then he lunges at me again and swings it towards my head. I kind of duck and put my hand up so he hits my elbow pretty hard again. He could have killed me twice in a matter of seconds. He almost hit Jane with the swing also. So all hell breaks loose and Tom and Bill jump him and beat him up pretty badly, as they were just seeing red from what happened. The girls managed to get them off Jake, and they kind of realized what they did. It's just emotional chaos at this point, and we are all kind of in shock. Jake sits up and Alice sits with him. There is a lot of blood on his face, but he didn't lose consciousness. Katie ends up driving Jake to the hospital and gets back in the morning. Jake had a broken nose and a slight concussion, and she dropped him off at his parents'. She said Jake didn't really talk to her, explain himself, or even apologize. None of us really slept that night, and honestly, after that, things are a bit blurry to me. Probably a mix of alcohol, shock, and adrenaline. The worst night of my life. But it just got worse. You might have noticed I haven't mentioned Alice for a while. We are sitting around and Tom says something like, Jake deserved worse than a broken nose for trying to kill me twice and almost hurting Jane. Then Alice, who has been quiet, suddenly snaps and defends Jake, saying he doesn't deserve any of this and that he just has been having a hard time. Tom and Alice almost end up in a screaming match before Alice storms off. I follow her thinking, okay, we are all in shock and sleep-deprived, and plan to comfort her. I find her in the guest room crying. I tell her I understand and we are in shock, and maybe we should just try to get some sleep. She doesn't even look at me, and suddenly I realize Jake and Alice were sitting next to each other the previous evening. Not the first time. When Jake was screaming at me, Alice was by his side, tugging at his arm, pleading him to take a walk with her and calm down. To Jake, not me. After Jake kicked me, stomped on me, swung a plank at me, her attention was still on calming him down while I lay there in pain. She didn't check on me when the guys were beating Jake. She was screaming in hysterics, trying to pull them off him. I don't even remember her asking me once if I was okay all night. So I asked her, "Are you cheating on me with Jake?" And she just starts crying hysterically and repeating she never intended for it to go this far. And I got my answer. I just lose it and start yelling at her, asking what is going on and how she could do this. The others come in, and the guys take me to another room and try to calm me down. Jane and Katie end up driving Alice to her parents, and Jane ends up staying with her, as apparently they were worried about her. All the car ride, she cried so much she couldn't speak. When they got to her parents, Jane and Alice's dad had to help her up the stairs and into bed as she barely stood up. She was just in hysterics still, and the only thing she managed to say or scream, according to them, was that she had ruined everything. So Jane stayed, as her parents were worried sick and had never seen her like this. Jane and Katie told them what had happened with Jake and me, and it seemed to stem from Jake and Alice's affair. Then 5 days pass. I'm just in so much physical and emotional pain, just so angry and confused. My elbow has a fracture, I've got a couple of bruised ribs, and the right side of my face is swollen. The night is on repeat in my head. I sent Alice some texts asking for an explanation, but she didn't answer. Then this morning, I get a call from my former mother-in-law. My former in-laws are amazing people and have always been so kind to me and helped me a lot these past years. She is very apologetic for her daughter and is very understanding. Then she says that Alice wants to see me and talk, and if I could come over, which I agreed to. I arrive, and they say they will go outside and wait in their car to give us space. But because of the state Alice is in, they don't want to leave the premises. I walk in, and when I see Alice, it's a roller coaster of emotion, anger, and bitterness. Then I felt sorry for her and just wanted to hug her. She looked awful, like a mental patient, like she hadn't eaten, showered, or slept since that night. I just felt so bad seeing her like that and had to restrain myself from running over and taking her in my arms. So I just sat down, facing her. She said I could ask her anything, and she would be honest, and kept repeating how sorry she was and that she had ruined everyone's life. I'm not going to go into too many details as this is long enough, but basically, a year ago, Jake confessed his love for Alice and had been very persistent since then. She said she made it clear it wasn't mutual. I asked why she didn't come to me. She said she didn't want to ruin our friendship and wanted to fix things. Then, these last months, he has become more aggressive, asking her to leave me for him. I asked if anything had happened. She said they kissed twice and Jake initiated both times, but she stopped it. And they once cuddled over a movie that Jake tried to initiate sex. And then she left and set clear boundaries. I asked why she kept seeing him alone if he was constantly trying to kiss her and get her into bed. She said he always promised he wouldn't do it again. I asked why she didn't cut contact, why she kept answering his DMs, kept meeting him, giving him false hope, and leading him on if she liked his attention. Then she said the strangest thing, that she felt bad for him, felt sorry for him, felt protective of him like she was his big sister, and she needed to help him get over her. That she even set him up on a date with a friend, which he sabotaged by being a jerk to the girl. I asked her if she was stupid, if she was telling the truth. She did nothing but keep his hope and crush for her alive by keeping giving him all her time. She started crying and doubled down on having a sister-brother relationship with him and wanting to fix everything, and that he was just having a hard time, and she wanted to help him get on his feet again. But he kept getting more persistent and started talking about me in a bad way, and that I didn't deserve her. She says she regrets everything and said she was just stupid and had ruined everything and dealt with everything in the worst way possible. But she did it in good faith, not realizing she was just making things worse. Then I ask her if she has had any contact with him since that night, and she takes this awkward pause before starting to bawl her eyes out and saying yes. That just destroyed me completely. Ruined me. This man for over a year tried to get with her, tried to kill me, and I wait 5 days for her to answer me, only for her mother to call me on her behalf. And meanwhile, she is texting with him. I couldn't answer. I just felt like hurting her, not physically, but emotionally. So I decided to just get up and go. She pleads with me, offers to show me the texts, saying she just checked if he was okay, and then the discussion went to her telling him it's over and to stop contacting her. But for me, she made her choice. I was in the worst pain in my life these last 5 days because of them, and she still chooses to continue to talk to him while I was on my own. I walk out, with her following me, pleading, and I'm not proud of this, but her mom and dad get out of the car and ask if everything is all right, and I just lose it. I yell that their excuse of a daughter has ruined my life, how she could choose the man who tried to stomp on my face over me. I was so angry, I couldn't even drive, so I just start walking away. I don't know for how long I was walking, but my ex-father-in-law drives next to me, tells me to get in, which I do, expecting him to yell at me or tell me off, but bless his heart, he just drives me home. We didn't talk all the way, but when he stopped outside of my place, he put his hand on my shoulder. I couldn't even look him in the face after what I said to them. Alice did text me screenshots of their texts, which seemed to prove what she said, that she only checked if he was okay, and then said she couldn't keep him in her life, that she would never forgive him for attacking me. She also sent more screenshots of their previous chats, mostly of her telling him to stop, that she didn't have feelings for him, and of her rejecting his advances. But as they have been talking for over a year, I guess she could cherry-pick parts of the conversations that look in her favor and leave other parts of texts out. I have not responded yet, and I don't think I ever will, and I will block her. But for some reason, I just can't yet. Now I'm here just getting this all out of me. I just feel so betrayed and angry and horrible. I want to hurt Alice and Jake so bad. Not in a violent way, just emotionally make them feel the pain I'm feeling. And I know that's not a healthy way to feel or a healthy thing to do. So I hope just writing this out, even if no one reads this, will help me start to process what the hell has happened, how my life went from feeling perfect to feeling like I will never feel good again. I feel like this pain will never go away. How on earth can someone heal from this? I feel like I lost everything. The people I used to love with all my heart, I feel nothing but hatred for now. I know Alice said she didn't cheat and have sex, which I doubt because I'm not stupid. Even if they didn't have sex, she still betrayed me on so many levels, as did Jake. I don't think I will ever forgive them. I don't feel like I will ever get to a place where I would even consider trying to. So to anyone who has ever been through a betrayal like this from partners or friends or both, what is my next step? How can I begin the process to just stop thinking about this and start trying to live my life again? Update. So, I haven't felt the need to update till now, because I kind of need advice again, or just reassurance on what to do, as so many have asked for an update on the whole situation. I will try, but going into many details will make this far too long. The situation I need advice on is the bottom paragraphs. Sorry this is so long again. I didn't mean to, but when I started writing, I just felt the need to get everything on my mind out. Everybody told me to press charges against Jake. I don't know. Maybe many of you are Americans with too much belief in the justice system, or have watched too many TV shows about lawyers. It doesn't work that way, at least not in my country. I talked to 2 lawyers, and the outcome was that I could press charges, but him going to jail is highly unlikely. The most likely outcome is that he has to pay for the trial and pay me a settlement. It might be a large fee, could be a small fee because I wasn't seriously hurt, and there were no long-lasting damages. My friends could testify to the severity of his assault, but the judge will most likely rule by the damage that was done. He might get probation but not jail. So yeah, I could maybe ruin him financially, but then he could press charges against Tom and Bill, and there is a bigger possibility they would end up worse from that case than Jake for mine, as they did break his nose and give him a concussion. And with a decent lawyer, he could make it out as having lasting physical effects from it. So this could become months up to years of dealing with this, and I just want this over with. His reputation has suffered. He lost some friends. Some said they would stay neutral. His older brother told me that he and his parents have expressed their disappointment in him, but aren't disowning him. But his younger sister took it really hard. She used to joke that she considered me as her older brother, at Jake's expense, lighthearted jokes, not cruel. She also looked up to Alice, so she took it hard and has refused to talk to Jake. He did send me a long apology letter, but not once mentioned Alice, just his behavior towards me in the assault. It was sincere, but not heartfelt. He owned up to a lot of things but blamed others on his mental health. I have not responded and will not. Jane and Katie, some of you, after I commented, told me that Jake might have been abusive to Alice, that they might know more than they let on, or were sticking by her. So I kind of played dumb, talking about how I couldn't believe I didn't see the signs. They saw the signs, and yes, they knew about Jake kissing Alice, but claimed they didn't know the extent of it, just that Jake and Alice were spending time together, and Alice told them he kissed her, but she dealt with it. I didn't really believe that that was the only thing they knew, as Jane got very defensive when I confronted her more about this. That had a domino effect, as Tom got mad at her for keeping it a secret and wondered what else she isn't telling him. In his mind, if she can keep a secret like that, what else can she keep secret about? So it's caused some strain to their relationship. I'm staying out of it, but told Tom not to get angry at her on my behalf. Katie did come to my home and asked to talk. She said she genuinely didn't know. She just kind of walked in on the kissing conversation, and Jane and Alice downplayed it later. When asking Jane, she told her Alice had dealt with it. She swore she took it as if she had told me and had no idea other than that what was going on. And I do believe her. She seemed very genuine and apologetic, unlike Jane. I don't hate Jane or resent her, but I'm disappointed and frustrated, so I've kind of been no contact with her these last weeks, as I just feel no interest in being around her, which has affected slightly my friendship with Tom, as I've been hanging out with other people instead. Alice, so where to begin? Many of you said go no contact, but I know myself. It would have driven me insane not being able to get everything off my chest and find some sort of conclusion to what the hell happened. One person messaged me saying that he was raised to face his problems in person, and that resonated better with me than going no contact, though I plan to do that after meeting her again. I also had to apologize to her parents and get my car as it was still at their place. So 4 days after that incident, I called them, asked if I could come by, talk to them, and if they would let me speak with Alice again. They were actually relieved. Part of me thinks they thought I was planning to forgive her or something. So I went there, we talked, I apologized. They said they were disappointed and shocked at me yelling those hurtful things, but understood that I was going through a lot of emotions and in a bad place. Then we hugged, then they went outside again, and I went into the living room where Alice waited for me. She walked towards me with the saddest face I have seen and asked for a hug, but I said no and asked her to sit down to talk. I asked her to tell me everything again and asked if Jake was in any way abusive, as Jane and Katie implied. She gave me the same version as last time, but with some additions. She said she didn't attempt fully realize at the time, she just felt this situation was her responsibility to fix. But the reason she couldn't do it or come clean was Jake. He threatened her with telling me himself that they kissed, that they were in love, that she was cheating on me. When she tried to cut communication with him, he said these things that she would ruin our relationship and the friendship between me and Jake, that I would believe him and not her. So she felt trapped into dealing with this on her own. I asked if he was physically abusive. She kind of hesitated and said not really, but on 2 occasions he did hurt her. Not badly, but to the point of pain. One time, at an event we were all at together, he got her alone, asked her if she really didn't love him. She said no and to not do this there and tried to walk away, but he grabbed her wrists and wouldn't let go, dragged her closer to him, and hurt her wrists. I remember that night, and I remember about halfway through, Alice went quiet and distracted, but told me she was just tired. The second time was similar, but they were alone, and he grabbed her bicep and squeezed, and she got bruises, but I don't remember any bruises on her. I would have noticed and asked about them. Maybe she hid them. I also asked if it really wasn't sexual, that his intentions were obvious, and why she kept putting herself in that position. She just said she didn't know. She was being stupid, but they never had sex. I also asked why he had so much power over her that she, for a year, couldn't find the strength to just tell me, why she believed I would trust his words, not hers. Again, she said she didn't know, that she just kept making mistakes. I asked why she ignored me after Jake attacked me, but not him. She just started crying and kept saying she didn't know why. She just thought our relationship was stronger than that, and we would bounce back, and she was worried what Jake would do. I said that was the reason that hurt me the most. She was too busy worrying about him and not about me, that to me she chose him. She said she didn't choose him, but I stood firm on that, it felt like that. Then I explained how much she and they had hurt me, All the trust was gone, and we were done, and I would go no contact with them. She asked if there is a point in the future we could be in each other's lives, and I said no doubt. But it was eating me away, as there are so many things I doubt in her story. So I reached out to Linda, a 27-year-old woman, Alice's best friend, and said that I was just destroyed and felt like nobody around me was telling the truth, and begged her to just be honest. To my surprise, she answered. It appears she knew a lot, but Alice kept her out of the loop with many things. She knew about Jake. She said she told Alice to stop talking to him and tell me about his behavior. She knew about them kissing, and that Alice regretted it and was the one who stopped it from going further. She told me that to begin with, Alice felt validated. She used to like the dynamic in our relationship, where I needed her support when my career was struggling and full of rejections. Not like I was constantly crying on her shoulder or relying on her money, but on many occasions she was my support system, the one who took it upon herself to cheer me up, hug me, cuddle, motivate me, make me believe in myself and keep going. When my career took off, she felt that dynamic missing. But then Jake was in the position I was in, and she could give her support to him and feel that validation again. I was just baffled. Linda said she was too when Alice told her. I asked if Alice felt validated by the sexual attraction from Jake. Linda said Alice never really talked about that, but as a girl herself, and knowing Alice for 20 years, she suspected that was a part of it too. Then I asked, as I've been fearing I might have been delusional about being a good boyfriend, if Alice ever talked bad about me. Maybe I did something to drive her into Jake's arms. Linda said not really, that Alice always sounded very much in love and talked about how happy she was, how I made her feel special to the point Linda was almost jealous on a few occasions. Alice did call me overbearing, clingy, and said I would sometimes shut down and be selfish, but never anything worse than that. Since then, I kind of think Linda has been flirting with me. She texts me every day, at first just things like how my day was or how I was feeling, then memes that are kind of sexual. But I have no interest in anything with her, so I guess I will have to shut that down. I don't want her thinking I'm leading her on. So I'm just trying to come to terms with all of this, trying to move on. Then about 8 to 9 days back, I get a text from Alice. I blocked her on all apps and social media. We always communicated with those, but rarely with our phone numbers, so it genuinely slipped my mind, or maybe subconsciously I didn't. It just said, "How have you been?" Followed up with her saying she smiled and laughed again for the first time because of me, and a photo of me on her TV, and how proud she is of me, and she looks forward to seeing my career progress. I work in the entertainment industry. My big break early last year was a job behind the scenes, which progressed to me getting in front of the camera. I'm by no means famous, just a little show, although growing in audience and popularity since we began, not on the main channel or anything. I made the mistake of responding, and we chatted for 2 days, not about us, but about some political issues in the country. I kept my distance still. If she texted, I just waited until I was in the mood to answer, or finished what I was doing first. Then she asked if I could find it in my heart to let her in my life again, if only in a small way, in the future. I said I needed more time, but unlikely. Told her I couldn't keep doing this for my mental health, said goodbye, and blocked her again. Thought this was over. But then last Friday night, around midnight, I get a knock on my door, and lo and behold, there stood Alice, soaking wet in the rain like some freaking scene in a movie. I asked what the hell she was doing here. She said she was out drinking and wanted to see me, but got cold feet as soon as she left the taxi, and stood by the road for 10 minutes, but was too cold to wait for another taxi now. So I let her in, gave her some old sweatpants, a t-shirt, and a hoodie of mine, and gave her a bag to put her wet clothes in. So the story is her friends peer pressured her to go on a girls' night out, but she didn't feel ready but went anyway. They were drinking, and she got her favorite cocktail. When we were together but went out on our own, we used to have this thing where we would message each other all night with funny things that happened, inside jokes about situations, or just send pics of our drinks. The fancier, the better. We were that annoying couple, yes, always on our phone talking when separated. She instinctively reached for her phone to send me a pic, but then realized she could never do that again, and felt a wave of sadness. She drank some more, and then after telling her friends she didn't want to meet or talk to men, they invited some guys over, told one of them Alice was single, and he was flirting and trying to get her attention. And her friends kept creating situations, leaving them alone together, and she had enough. She also told me that the guy was boring, uninteresting, and pathetic and ugly. Alice rarely talks like this about people. Which brings me to this point. I know sober Alice, tipsy drunk Alice, and drunk Alice. She seemed to be in the tipsy drunk state, but usually she is very giggly and bubbly. Then now, she was completely cold and distant, never looked me in the eye, opposed to last time when I met her where she looked at me with such sorrow and regret. She even almost talked in a monotone. Never have I seen this Alice, like she was a different person. I was tired and just so weirded out, my mind went kind of blank. Then she just sat there, not saying a word. I went on the taxi app and ordered her another taxi, but after 15 minutes the app said it was still searching for a taxi, so I thought, screw this, and offered to drive her home as I didn't think her staying over was a good idea and suspected that was her agenda. I was calling out her bluff, but she just got her things and went to my car without any protest or saying anything in general. In the car, the mood was still so weird. She asked to choose the music. I said yes. She asked to hold my hand while we drive for one last time. Stupid me said yes. Then she just sat there and looked out the window. Never looked at me. This attitude kind of disarmed me. My mind was blank. But in a lame attempt to lighten the mood, I joked about driving her back to her friends, and maybe the mysterious man was still there. She just shrugged, said she was done with men forever. All they did was abuse her trust, manipulate her emotions and goodwill, and put her in lose-lose situations. I don't know if that was a stab at me, Jake, or both. I asked her why she said that, and she shrugged again and said seriously. She also told me Jake sent her a letter asking her to move with him to another country, but she threw it out. Then we just drove in silence. When we approached her parents' home, I felt her squeeze my hand like she didn't want to let go. When I stopped the car, she said nothing, just went out, not even looking at me, and went inside. When I got back home, I, of course, found her underwear in my bathroom, but in a place beside the laundry basket where clothes would often fall. My common sense says, of course, she left them on purpose. She knows that's where clothes sometimes fall, but they do fall there, so of course another thing for me to overthink and doubt about. And now I got her underwear, and she's got my clothes, so a reason to see each other again. Anyway, I was just so confused and a little scared for Alice in this state. I even have been thinking if she was on drugs that night. She was that unlike herself. I am even debating if I should ask Linda about it, but I shouldn't put her in that position and pull a Jake on her. I am also that naive that I unblocked Alice on everything because I genuinely thought she would reach out with an apology for showing up drunk at my place. The old Alice would have. I also noticed she changed her Instagram a lot, removed her bio, deleted almost every picture. She had this cute and quirky feed. She has 2 old pics of her, deleted all pics with other people in, and pics of me, except one of us together from a holiday from 2 years ago that we both have declared as the most fun time in our lives. I felt like I was making tiny progress, but now I can't stop thinking about her again. But the truth is that I really miss Alice so much. She really is a one-of-a-kind person. I've always realized how lucky I have been having her in my life. And as much as I've hated her and resented this past month, seeing her on Friday and remembering how she cried at her parents' place, I hate seeing her like this. It made me feel good or content thinking about her hurting from her decisions and destroying her life with Jake. I felt like she deserved it for making me hurt so much. Now I feel some resentment, but I just worry, and I'm afraid for her more now. I admit when she squeezed my hand in the car, I got a tingle of butterflies in my stomach, thinking about it and our time together. Then I feel worried. I don't want her to self-destruct or feel bad or guilty for the rest of her life. We are only human. We make mistakes. I'm inclined to believe that Jake was abusive, which makes me actually want to press charges to punish him for what he did to Alice. And she felt stuck in dealing with this herself because of his threats and fear of losing everything. But then again, she did console him and not me when things came to a head. I keep going in circles, and I feel her visit on Friday was a little manipulative, her showing up soaking wet, leaving her underwear acting so weird. But then, for a few minutes, I feel like not caring about that, only having her in my life as a partner again. So I'm thinking in circles, go no contact, and try to be strong, reach out to her, Have an honest, all on the table talk. Maybe try to work on things and see if we can move forward. Or just be the bigger man and meet her and end things in a way that in some way relieves her of her guilt so she won't beat herself down about this or regret her whole life. Even if it means me lying or downplaying something, so at least I can't worry about her. As you can see, fellow Redditors, I'm so very confused and clueless right now, and hoping like last time, someone will come along with advice that will help me see the right way forward.